Thank you for the music, man. Thank you for the music, Sean. Sean the Music Man. And you're in tune with DestinationUri.com. Rowan Hand, your host. Always through from 7:30 in the morning to 10:30 in the morning Irish time. It is the morning show. Good morning, Uri and Morn, Ireland and the world, because that's where we're going. Connor, you're back with me. It's lovely to see you. It's James, of course. Connor. I keep thinking it's James Connor. And I then think of your dad, Connor Patterson. You're welcome. It's good to see you again.
It's nice to be back again, Ron. Thank you.
Remind the people of your poetry and the competition that you won that brought you to a little bit of prominence just a month ago.
Well, it was the I8's competition, which ran out of Sligo just last month there, run by a crowd called the Hawkswell Theatre. The poem that was entered in it was called Animal Psalms. And it's sort of the genesis of it was, as I think we were discussing last time, a combination of things that was sort of set in motion by watching a documentary on ghost estates around Ireland, and then sort of becoming aware of the concept of emptied sort of human spaces, you know.
It's interesting that I was thinking about that since you were here last, and it struck me. I went once to do a nationwide program for RTE, and I went into old homes. Now, I'm not talking about grand houses or grand estates. I'm talking about just a cottage in the middle of a field. I'm talking about a two-story house somewhere, again in the country environment, where for some reason the occupants had up and gone, and they'd left everything. The coat was still hanging on behind the door. The pictures were still on the wall and slightly ginked and coming down. That kind of thing. And I thought it was a really an area of great pathos. That here families had disappeared without the slightest clue as to why. Where once there had been life, there was now death. Is that the kind of animal psalms that you brought to it?
Well, it's sort of the thing that actually struck me about empty spaces and empty buildings, and particularly, as you were saying, ones that have been obviously previously inhabited where maybe possessions have been left behind. There's a real sense of the former occupants' kind of imprint being left on that building and being left on that house. You can really feel that it was maybe someone's home before you arrived there. And in particular, this particular documentary as well, just on the subject of ghost estates, it also touched on previously inhabited spaces, which of course the ghost estates aren't. They're houses that maybe haven't been sold off because people can't afford to get rid of them or whatever.
I understand. It's in a more modern context. May I ask? I just see your book there. Is that your notebook?
It is.
Look at something there, because I love the moleskin book. But if I could look at this here, this fascinates me. And this really, really does fascinate me. This is this man's work. But I mean, where is the reworking of the words? Well, where is the kind of jots? Like by comparison, my any writing I put down is a mess. But that's very structured, very, very one take sort of job.
I have to admit that virtually everything in that book is a first draft, and then what'll happen is I'll take that first draft, put it onto Microsoft Word, because you have the advantage of spell check and things like that.
You do. Moleskin is lovely. No spell check can give you a feel of that book. You know, that's the thing there. So, but it was just the order of your mind there. And that, even though it is a first draft, I would be writing and I'd be scraping out and I'd be putting something in, changing a word here and there. But you have the benefit of not having to do that.
I kind of, I think that's why I use a tool like Microsoft Word, because it's sort of, you can draft and redraft with the advantage of not, making scores on your notes or anything like that. You can do it very cleanly. So I think I probably prefer that, but that's where the initial ideas go.
Yeah, but when in 100 years your books are being sought after and you're long gone or heading in that direction, it'll not be your Microsoft documents that people will seek. It'll be your moleskin notebook.
Sure, I suppose I suppose that's maybe to an advantage then, that the notes are a wee bit cleaner. Because people will be able to read them, hopefully.
Yeah. Have you another poem for me today?
Well, I have. What I was looking at in this book was a draft of.
That's work in progress.
Of a slightly earlier poem. I can just find it again. Yeah. Now it's not too much older than the one I read for you on Friday, which is Animal Psalms.
Talk me into this poem. What is it? What are you trying to achieve with it?
Well, this poem was it was inspired by of all things, I suppose. You think of an Irish subject. It was a pub crawl that I did at Christmas in Dublin, which I lived in for 3 years.
Yeah. You lived in the pub for 3 years?
No, I lived. I wish I had the money to live in the pub for 3 years.
So may I take it as read that the final chapter isn't written because you were drunk at that stage?
No, it was written completely in retrospect of what happened. But it was sort of. I had lived in Dublin for 3 years, having gone to college there. For a couple of years, and then the particular course I was doing at the time didn't work out, and I had changed and went up to Belfast. But I still keep in contact with the people, my friends and stuff that are made down there. And this poem was kind of me thinking about an occasion last Christmas when I went on a pub crawl with a number of friends, and it was kind of a catch up. It was nice. It was a nice sort of catching up, and this is sort of a reflection of that.
I think we're ready for that.
So this is called Serotonin.
Serotonin.
A head full of thoughts as big as my Adam's apple. I crack my heel in a swig along Bagot Mile, half full of my own self-importance, half dead by my own narration. The lights are green and red, sack-filled slivers of serotonin, and the entire town is as warm and black as a T-bone steak or a half-gram of her boil-sweetened black coffee. Wow. So it's a little bit shorter than the one the other day.
The serotonin image is interesting there. That's the chemical that interacts with the skin to give you a colour, is it?
It's actually no. That's melatonin.
Melatonin.
Serotonin is the
happy brain thing.
It is, yeah. It's the one that fires off to make you feel happy and content.
Happy.
You know.
Yeah. But again, it has that quality. It has that quality of deeply considered. Like there's a wisdom in the words there that you bring together. And a depth to the words, which is interesting.
Thank you.
Have you the Animal Psalms still there?
I don't have it with me today, Rowan. But
have you another there, perchance that's handy?
I'm sure I do.
Because we're getting a flavour of not only of your writing but of your reading. And I remember it's maybe 40 years ago when I listened to Heaney in the town hall in Newry.
Yeah.
He had that kind of fond embrace of his words that came across vocally, and which very strong.
I had actually we touched the last day on an idea of rhythm being very important to poetry.
Yes.
And sort of in that spirit, before I'd come here today, I sort of prepared maybe an exercise that people could follow if they wanted to. And the suggestion I would give to people is, if they're wanting to get into poetry, the best way to do it is to listen to song lyrics, replace the song lyrics with your own words, but try and keep the same rhythm. So in that spirit, a song I chose the first verse of, because I figured most people in the town would know it, half the town being either Liverpool or Celtic fans, is You'll Never Walk Alone. So a lot of people know the words to that. And if you think of the rhythm of that song, very melodic, very kind of regular.
Yeah.
So I think the first verse goes, when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. It's very sort of regular. So I've tried to replace those words with my own, but keeping the same rhyme structure and rhythm. And
it's no longer a song.
No, it becomes a poem, and then you sort of you work it out until it becomes your own thing.
Yeah.
So instead of when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high. I just thought, in the hold of the night, when your dreams all sigh, it sort of keeps the same rhythm.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
And sort of the same rhyme as well. It ends on the I sound. And don't be afraid of the dark, I replace with, and your head takes the place of your heart, sort of the same again.
Yeah.
And then it begins to take part beyond where you lie, and your months ago back at the start. So it keeps, I hope, the same structure of it, you know.
And is this an exercise that you've designed to suit you?
Yeah.
Or is it a formal learning piece that you have been taught?
It's I suppose it's how I learned rhythm, and then over the years it became kind of a natural thing. Whenever I was writing,
Yeah.
it was sort of a second instinct, really.
Yeah.
But when you're starting out, it's definitely a good place to go.
Yeah. How difficult would it be for you now to go back, and I have a reason for asking, for you to go back and write again Animal Psalms?
The sort of the same process of ideas and things like that.
Within that kind of process of ideas, to go back and do it again, because obviously what you've done is the very best that you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
And where I'm coming from is the notion of being unable to stand twice in the same stream.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything's moving.
Yeah.
So for me it would be almost impossible to do the same thing again, or anything in that kind of vein again.
Well, yeah, it would be almost impossible, because once the process of getting a subject over with, particularly in that case Animal Psalms, which was, as we've said, about empty human spaces and things like that, once a writer or a poet or whatever else has clarified a particular issue to himself or herself, it's sort of, you can put it to bed then.
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to return to it. So in that sense, it probably would be difficult to go back and write it again, because in my head that the subject's already sort of a closed chapter.
Okay, you're an amazing man.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, and I do hope that your writing life continues to blossom and to take you on the great journey of creative adventure. And
Thank you, Ron.
That's what it's about. And you're always welcome in here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go well, take care.
Thanks
We're going
for
to play a
having
bit
me
of music. Coming in a moment, dear friends, men's sheds. Now get your head around that. We'll be finding out how the concept of men's sheds can be really a life belt, can be a lifesaver for many people in the part of their life that they're not as busy out there in the world of work. Maybe a facility to ease one into retirement or whatever, and all the excitement and adventure that can accompany on that journey. Sean, some music, please.